Happy Sunday. John McCaig here. Jesus Christ Trust.net. I'm hoping that chat can happen. If anyone sees this. Anyway, I want to do a topic today, and I thought, well, I want to ultimately be live on camera on Sundays once a week. That's the goal of this church. I'm building the website and the courses, the information and stuff. It's a slow process, and this channel, it's a slow process because it's just me and one part-time help, um, very part-time, and that's just the way it is. But I'm going slow to make sure I get it all properly completed before I move on to more steps of the process. But I thought, well, maybe I can do a little live thing. Hey, Mary, you can hear me. Boom. Okay. I think man, I have this nice mic. The sound's like 10 times better. Just won't let me use it for some reason. So oh well. But I'm glad you can hear me. Not as well as maybe you could, but you can hear me. Yeah. Today's topic I want to go into, what I was saying. Well, I'm going to go into Cain and Abel, but I want to continue with a little intro, and that is I'd like to, start being able to do something and ultimately live for this church. I got a van that can, move and be somewhere too. So, you know, kind of getting the backup for the church website, YouTube channel, that information, and the information that I'm releasing just out there on video and all that information that no one has. And then I feel like that's more, that way people can look into the information and whatever happens to them, having had crazy spiritual stuff happen to me, it's like, what was that? And you need to be able to go back and be like, what's going on? So I try to make that possible for people. What a let's see what else. So I'm working on that van. I'm going to keep you updated on that, and I appreciate the support. um I'll be putting out some more courses, some discourses, you know, because courses are on Liberty Academy. I get discourses over here like Mir Baba, stuff I can't say over there. I can say under the church. I can't say under the school. So this is a different umbrella over here, different dome I'm under. So anyway, that's what I'm working on, getting that set up, and then I'll do some more, traditional miracles. Like I already can't get out of the death of Texas. Got people out of both. Those are less traditional Jesus type miracles. I get that, but it's really what we needed. So, and then some more kind of like interacting with people, and because it's a different setup for me. I'm on a slow learning curve with technology and getting everything in place, but I'm building it slowly. Thank you for your patience and your support and your help. Really. So Cain and Abel, we're going to go into Cain and Abel. Anything on your mind or whatever, that's cool. But what else did I want to say in here before I jump into this? Okay, I'm going to get into this. Cain and Abel. That's the story of creation. You know what I'm saying? There's Adam and Eve, and they had that thing, and then their offspring were Cain and Abel. Like the fall from grace. Like we lose our grace status with God, and into the dome we go, right? As Cain and Abel, we're split in two. You see what I'm saying? We're leaving our God state, right? And we're getting, let's go all the way back. Let's dial all the way back. Let's I'm gonna start at the beginning, okay? Let's, because it's not really proper to get into this without starting at the beginning. So let's start at the beginning. Why is this happening? Why is reality happening? Why is this going on? Because if you can't, come down from there and explain reality, people, you got no business talking about it. Why is this happening? Okay, Mir Baba got it right. Like God, who's everything, had a fancy like the sea outside the dome. A fan, you fan the sea, and what happens? Waves. So it had a fancy, had a whim to know self, the same whim and fancy, the same desire each of us have to know self, right? That's what people are, they want to know self. So um that desire, God is everything, right? That desire created an experience for God to feel not godlike. You know what I mean? The analogy being, a parrot flies free in the jungle, doesn't understand the concept of freedom. Okay? And then you catch the bird, catch the parrot, catch the parrot, put it in a cage, close the door, keep it in the cage for a while. And then later, after the parrot gets used to living in the cage, you open that door and let it out. And the jungle back it flies. At that point, it understands the concept of freedom. Okay? And so that's, if you're God, you're you're not limited by anything. There's your attributes are unfathomable, unlimited. So to self limit, to know self, is the outcome from God's whim, desire to know self. That's what's happening. Okay? And so what's the process of that happening? And the Bible's pretty good about that, but the Bible is about the past. You know what I mean? Like a lot of it is, it is. Every sentence is about the past, and it's also about the future too. But because it's repeating itself, but it didn't give exact details of our forward repeat. It gave exact details of the past repeat, right? Revelation. Here's a book, starts again. Here's a book, starts again. People didn't take it that way, but that's what's happening. So in the beginning, so that's the reason we're doing this, right? And then the process is, that's the reason that that was the impetus, that was the what created creation, right? That was the precursor, the prelude, the reason for the initial cause, the Big Bang, whatever you want to call it, was that desire of God to know self. Okay, now moving on from that, Cain and Abel, right? We're going to get to Cain and Abel. Okay, so that's a reason why it started. Okay, so without that reason, you get lost. So now we'll take the reason for existence to the Bible, and there's Adam and Eve, right? That story, people are pretty okay. Adam and Eve, I get it, and so they had offspring, because that's what we are. We're the ones in here, right? Like we're the ones stuck in here from Adam and Eve, from someone, from something. Either we came out of a woman or we didn't, like I didn't. But we're here in a body, that's for sure. I'm sitting here in a body, so are you. So that's happening. That's occurring right now. So talking about Cain and Abel is talking about our situation, ours, yours and mine, yours and my situation. That's what it's talking about. Because that's, it's talking about all the offspring from all the humans from Adam and Eve. You follow? All of it. So I talk about the jinn, I talk about the demons and so on, but let's think this through, okay? I'm gonna try and be clear on this topic. I know I'm tackling something sort of unsaid and hasn't. No, we haven't gone there yet. No one else really fully, but I'm going to try and get into it a little bit today. Now, Cain and Abel, right? Cain, fire, right? From fire, and then kills his brother Abel, right? The sweet one or whatever, from water, right? Abel. Um, so God is this ocean above our head, right? Um, and we're humans, right? The people, we're supposed to be. Oh, you're made from like earth. You're made from clay, right? From that. And the demons, in the Quran, right? The jinn, they're made from smokeless fire. Okay? So Cain and Abel, jinn, fire, you know, and people are the humans, mix that water, that ocean, God with the dirt, boom, humans. You see, but that's kind of what we're talking about, going through kind of the basics of this, but we're going to take it a step further, of course. So what is happening, right? Let's go back to what I said, the overview. Oh, we're in the parrot in the cage. Oh, so what's happening is God is one, right? There's no separation. The concept of separation is, it's not a concept that God could have, because God is not separate from anything. Do you follow? All right, Valeria. Larry and Mary. Good to have you both. Hard workers, smart ladies. Thanks for getting into this. Any thoughts or whatever, let me know, please. Um, so this is the illusion of separation, that parroted cage. That's what's happening. Oh, God is being separated. You see what I'm saying? Oh, separate. I'm Cain and Abel. Do you follow me? Like Adam and Eve. Uh, but Adam and Eve is male and female, but what they're saying is the offspring, too bad, right? Like, it's not like that exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's now fire water. It's not man and woman. It's fire water. That's a split. You see? So that could be a male female, right? Fire water. So, that's the battle. That's the separate. That's the, jizz versus the humans. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the duality situation, you and me, as drops of the ocean of God, find ourselves in this situation that we're experiencing. You see? But now listen. We're further along, right? We're further along spiritually, mentally, etc. than what I just said. How? How so? Okay. You're not your body, obviously, right? You go to sleep at night, your body's laying there. Where are you? Well, you're not in your eyeballs and your everything, right? Somebody could walk by you dead to the world. You're not here. Your consciousness is not, I am, it's not like when you're awake, is it? No, it's a different type of consciousness. You're not here. You're not here, right? You're not in the body. You're not in the body. So, see, sleep is like us going into the original state of God. Do you follow? Where it's a state of lacking knowledge of self. Of, you see, to say you lack the knowledge of self, creating this game. So we're in the middle of the game, but that's a reason for it, right? You don't know yourself. You see, so what? As in sleep, you're unconscious. The original state of God is unconscious. That's you in sleep. You're unconscious. That's the original state of God, and what you experience all the time, every day. Everyone does, you see? And so that is the original state of God, and that's where we get rest in that true, actual, our real self. We wake up rested and so, oh, went back to the original state of unconscious God and everything was fine. Of course, because everything was fine then. Nothing was separate. That's us. We go back to God. Everything's good. But now, with this experience, and God has created this impossibly intricate experience just in a, before time even what? Pow, here it is. It happens again and again. So us as drops of the ocean, right? God, we're gaining from that, you know, unconscious God say we're gaining consciousness. You see, and so we go through all the forms, animals, plants, rocks, clouds, finally get to the human state, and now what we're talking about is Cain and Abel. You follow me? Our consciousness is to Cain and Abel's state is, oh, now we're in the human state. Okay, so we come in this state as separate, right? Fire, water. But what's in here, right? Demon, jinn, whatever you want to call it. Uh, like basically, let's sing it for you, okay? Me and my shadow and me. We all live together, close as can be. You see what I'm saying? It's your shadow. It's you. It's that jinn. That's you. You see, it's your dark nature in a land where there's light and dark. But God doesn't have a dark nature like that. God just is everything. You see what I'm saying? But for there to be light, there has to be dark. And so why would God be separate from anything? So, but that dark self has to be overcome to come back to your actual true nature because God has no darkness. You see, God doesn't have that. So this dark aspect, this shadow, is created in duality to show God what God isn't. That's not us. You see what I'm saying? And so the jinn isn't us, even though it's a shadow of us. Here, it's an illusion that the jinn is real, that there's some separate aspect of you. And so we're separating ourselves from that shadow and rejoining ourselves, right? That's the veil. Maya, God calls, Bear Baba calls it. But we're separating ourselves from that experience. Oh, I think I'm this, all these thoughts being sent to me, which we don't create thoughts. I think I'm this body. I, you know, why? Because we're experiencing that. Oh, I'm experiencing only this. But then there are experiences outside that experience would actually so blow our past experiences away that we go, oh, now this is my new foundation for experience. You know, how do I reconcile the experience of the unlimited, the uh, with the finite, right? The infinite with the finite. How do I join those two? My conscious, I'm experiencing this reality, and yet, right? This body is a me. I'm not limited by this. I experience that every day. I leave here. I come back. You know, so that's really what's going on. So wait, I'm not really this, but here's the thing: you're having this experience, so you can then come to the true experience, right? Oh, I'm not. I wasn't. Yeah, I was a parrot in that cage. I did experience that for a reason, and then at the end of you know, the game for the bird cage, God at the time that's right for every soul. You're in the egg as soon as it's time for the egg to crack the egg goes, or you fly home. You see, we're in a matrix, womb, egg, uh, don't fall off the edge of the earth, right? The egg edge, right? Don't go to the edge and crack that thing. You don't want out of here. Don't leave the dome. Don't leave the egg. Okay, so Cain and Abel, still, you know, Cain and Abel, fire, water, right? The jinn, that's the fire, smokeless fire. Okay, so come Judgment Day, right? They go into the lake of fire. Well, if you're made of fire, is that like heaven for you? I mean, honestly, you're going back into your original state of fire, and so you become malleable to be the shadow of the next incoming aspect of God, right? You go to the lake and back out you come for a shadow for the next one coming in. You see? So That's what it means, like Judgment Day, they throw it back into the lake of fire, because then you're, either sent to review your life with, the devil. So you shouldn't have done that. We got to teach you. You have to review your life for 1,000 years. Or, you see, because if you're in a bubble in the ocean, right? You're in heaven, you're in hell, right? That's still duality. You see, you're still going to reincarnate. You're still coming back here. You went into the lake of fire. You went into lake of paradise. What's the difference? You see, you're still experiencing this illusion that you still didn't balance the books. That's why the accountant figured this out. You see, because it has to be sanskaras, desires. Oh, it has to be even. You see, you would get the whole thing, and you're like, okay, you know what I mean? You're like, a guy coming by with a hot dog. I don't want a hot dog, man. I'm just trying to, yeah, well, I can get you this. I can get you. You're like, just easy. I'm waiting for, honestly, I'm just waiting for God. Just give me, just everybody, just, all your stuff. I had some of the sweets and the hot dogs and the, I feel a little bit queasy, and, just no more. You see what I'm saying? So, is that jinn, demon, and so on, is that you? You see what I'm saying? But it is you. Everything is not separate from God. So that's part of you. You see what I'm saying? That's part of you. If you really see that you're joined with God and experience that reality, that nothing is separate from you except for separation. That's separate from God. So, but this illusion of separation must continue as the cage until we win this test, right? Testament is a test. Not I mean, it's an individualized test that each individual experiences differently, but the test is even and fair. You see, God is, I mean, the perfect accountant, in addition to many other things. But it's a game to weigh you up so that you've learned your lesson as, an aspect of God. Oh, I'm not separate from anything. This is what I really am. By feeling that separation, it's like, oh, heroin is good. It's out. Oh, heroin is bad when it's out. Yeah, it's bad. Put it back in. Like that. I've never had heroin, but I'm just saying. You follow me? Like, it's kind of like, drugs are like what you're looking for from God, the bliss that doesn't come through limitations like a body or a liquid. You know what I mean? Like, what aspect of God is unlimited bliss? And you're not experiencing unlimited bliss at all seconds, at all times. I get that. You see, but that is the experience you have when you go into the original God state. That's why everyone comes back from sleep like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, you don't remember it though, but you healed, you woke, you know what I mean? Like, you are feeling the after effects from it, so something happened, but that's what happened in that state. Uh so it's overcoming your shadow, and really, is overcoming your shadow anything? It's just a shadow. It wasn't, you know first time you see a shadow as a child, you're like, shadow, and it's a big thing. But you're looking around, you're trying, what's going on down there, but after a while, your shadow doesn't interest you, and you don't notice it, and that's even in a way worse. And then you got to go back to noticing it, and then sort of getting rid of your shadow, right? You're not dual. You don't have a shadow. You're not casting a shadow. So, right, that's why Cain and Abel is the end. Oh, okay. You either one or the other, or you went back to God, right? Heaven or hell is still duality, still the problem, still that. Christ consciousness, God realization, realizing, oh, I realization meaning having the experience, not knowing intellectually, having the actual experience with God. Oh, wow. you know, you're not separate. You have the experience. It's an automatic event that occurs on different levels. So, crack the vessel, the body. It doesn't, you know, evaporate, die, whatever. It has to be a multi experience of event multi-experience event like boiling water, and then at the end, oh, it boiled, turned to steam. Psh, different thing. Where'd it go? You know, they're gone. So that's why this is going on. And so in the end, it's kind of like my understanding is Muhammad had his jinn in him. He said everybody has a demon in them. So you're getting that to what? This separate shadow of yourself is, how could it be separate from you? It's not. And so it's experiencing through your eyes and feelings and heart, and it's in here too. Your true nature self is experiencing everything you're experiencing. And so that starts to fade. Your shadows, as the more you hone yourself in the direction of God, the light of God begins to make the shadow go away. You see, it's just that the ego, the shadow, that second half of yourself, that part that gave you your feeling of self. You know what I mean? Like, I am me, I'm Jack, I'm John, whoever I am. I'm, you know, I'm this. And so you have that experience, but it's a necessary experience to have individualized consciousness combined with that nature of God that's not separate from anything, which are two pieces that seem like they can't go together, right? The infinite and the finite. Oh, I'm this limited, individualized being, and I'm this, unlimited. That's why I always, as someone with Christ consciousness, is so hard. You know what I mean? For me, I never experienced myself suffer from God or Jesus or whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm him, but I'm not. I don't have Jesus's individualized consciousness. No, no. I have the experience that, oh, I was in this human body and feeling separate from God, and then, whoa, I'm not separate from God. You know what I'm saying? Like, now that's that experience, and it never goes away after it's not all you're experiencing. You're experiencing that at the same time. You're like back in the body. You're like, I'm in my sleep state, but I'm not I'm not experiencing, I'm not experiencing just the bliss and all that. I'm experiencing the body and all that stuff too. It's a combination. So they don't go together. Almost everyone dies from the experience because the infinite and finite are not meant to go together. They're meant to automatically end the game. Oh, oh, you get it. You know what I mean? Like, you, oh, your totals got evened, of both sides, and ding, and you didn't want it anymore. Da-ding, cha-ching, ba-boing, you experienced God. Okay, automatically. And so usually at that moment, what? The game is ended. You don't have to go to heaven or hell. You go back to God. You made the whole thing. Congratulations. That's the only reason existence exists, for you to experience that and to bring your individualized consciousness back to what Bear Mama calls a universal state of mind, but God's original state of being unconscious. You bring your individualized consciousness to it. Combine, pow. You see what I'm saying? That's what God was looking out for. Who am I? Oh, that's who I am. Both of these things. You see, I'm God, but you also have individualized consciousness to what? Experience the fact that you, an individualized consciousness, is God. You see to say you can't be unlimited and think I, you turn yourself into this I and unlimited. Oh, I experience that. Then the experience doesn't go away because you experience that. So, and that's what happens with the experience of getting rid of the jinn, the demon, whatever inside of you. You keep going towards God, and that shadow just starts to disappear. And when you realize it was never real, but it was running your whole existence. The shadow was running everything. But later, when you connect only to God, you're only headed in that direction. Your desires don't move you off the path, right? You're just headed in that direction. And that's the only place to go. And so that whole angel and devil sitting on his shoulder, yeah, it's an angel, it's a God. The devil part just starts to, like, you don't hear it anymore. You know, it just, it's sort of instinct or whatever, right? It's just those thoughts start to just fade and fade and fade, and then you can't hear them anymore. It's you experience other people's reaction to certain things and all that. You had it before, so you know what's going on. It's not like that. It's just that you just don't, you know, some things may happen or some vague thoughts or whatever, but it's never anything you would tied to an action in the future. You know what I mean? Whereas thoughts before were just like, oh, boo, what? That's great. Boo, off you go. You're acting on that thought. What? Yes, boom, and there you go. This, that, off you go. Boom, boom, boom. It ain't like that. You're separate now. You're like, you're hardly even hearing that. You're like, I'm in the dome. You got so much truth. You're like, it's a much more careful existence. You're way for certain messages that are clear, and your prayers are to God. Don't let anything else in here, because I put it like this. In the end, hey, I say God's name all the time. Isn't it your fault, God? Everything is God's fault in the end, really. In other words, God had this reason to do this. Everything's God's fault, meaning everything's your fault in a way too. So, uh, but it's this nature of God we're not experiencing. So you give God the fault, not the devil, right? That's devil's just a shadow of God, you know. And so God is blamed for everything, 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 or else God is not God. And so God is blamed for everything. It's like, hey, I had a great time at your little game, but could you just get me home, like, sort of as fast as possible? Let's just say I'm good this second, you know what I mean? But let's just do on your end, since I run it quite everything, it seems like, can you just get me there as fast as possible? You see, no side trips, none of that. No more of that. I got the truth. Now just down the road. Don't crack my vessel. I need to experience God on different levels. Let's just focus on that. And then I'll get through any health or like, oh my God, and then till I can really fully experience God. And so that takes, takes time for cake to make. It's not like I mixed all the ingredients, cake. It's not like that, like the dough's not like a womb isn't like that. An egg is not like that. Ingredients are in, it's done. It's not like that. Not in this. It's not like that here. You see, it's it wouldn't be fair. So we have to have this experience. You see, this two nature part of us have to have the experience until there's just one nature, your nature. And your ego's not like, oh, what I want a house, man. I want to. Your wants just go, oh God, dang, I so don't want anything of a God. Get me out. God help me. Seriously, God help me. Get me out of here. Until that's your final, shock and amazement that God is doing this, and you just, okay, we're good. I don't need to experience this anymore. You see, I'm letting you know, ready to roll. I don't keep sending stuff down the line. I don't want to. I need some things here because you make me live under the dome, but I don't. The wants are gone. Off you go. Don't have them. It's just like, how can I get closer to God? And so, what choice in this situation will bring me one step closer, one step closer. That's what we have in our situation, is play the game from our individualized location in the maze to get a little closer until the shadow goes. Cain and Abel, just able. I'm able to do it. Able bodied, right? Able minded, made it. You with me? Okay. Uh And so, one more aspect of this, you follow. There's the aspect of their mom explains it like a drop in the ocean. The ocean. Let me try another way for you. See, if you are an acorn, are you not a tree? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, honestly, like, if you're fruit from a tree and you're hanging on the tree, you're that tree. And if you drop off the tree, you become a tree. How are you not that original tree? Isn't everything? Wait a second. When does the separation happen exactly? Because is it when there's a flower, or you see what I'm saying? Like, you have to see it in the nature of reality. It's hard to pick where a separation point is, because there sort of isn't one. You see, that blurred thing becomes completely blurred, and your experience is like, oh, I see how I had to have this experience of going through these forms and being all this. So you say, oh, okay. And it still is like, yeah, that's what I had to experience, but and it is a nature, an aspect of us as the continuing shadow ball that we have to go in and then ultimately leave. It exists for that reason. The cage will continue to exist infinitely in here. As soon as you get outside of your consciousness is out, it's like when you're asleep. You don't experience time anymore. It's over. This already happened. Everything we're doing right now, to God, it's all done because time doesn't exist. God had a thought and it immediately got the information back because time doesn't exist for God. But to us in here, time is still happening. Do you see? But as soon as we get outside and realize, oh, there's no time for God, we're in the time ball. That's where it happens. And so we sleep and we experience no time. Back in the time. You see? Anyway, and that's why we can heal so well when we're asleep, because we're back in the ether, 1,000 years per one day. Like, I'm well rested. Anyway, that's the information I wanted to share this with you, the Cain and Abel, and how it meshes with our reality. Because I don't think anyone's quite gone through this topic in this detail, saying it's you and your nature right now. I mean, I think Muhammad got into that a little bit, but not the real practical aspects of it, like I think I'm trying to go through today. Uh, the name of God separates you from the shadow. It's like this line in the sand that they can't cross. The shadow aspect can't get it across that line of God's name. You say God's name, and it's like you've stopped the attack from your own shadowy self. And just stop it. God, get me out of here is all you're saying with God's name. Get me out of the egg. Hey, I'm ready in here. Because where's the egg and where's the edge of the shell, right? You can't be like, hey, I'm ready. Get me out of the egg. You know what I mean? Like it's not quite so direct as Truman just running into the side. I'm ready. Open the door. Hey, where's the door already? You see, but that's what's happening. The door is we leave this cage, right? Whatever physical body, we don't have to re-enter it, or heaven or hell, the ether duality. We don't go through any of that anymore. It all for you back to God, no longer separate, but you don't lose self. And honestly, it's really, Mayor Obama said at my level, it's very hard for perfect masters to not uh, think they're the avatar. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not, basically, in a way. Like the perfect masters are here. They got the show rolling, and they're here. Then the avatar comes. You see, but usually at the end of the show, that's when everybody's judged and everything like that. It's very rare to almost impossible for someone to be here in the body and say what I'm saying in a body. That's why I'm so reviled and rejected. That's what Mir Mama said. I'm the one who, in the past, is revered. When you look at the past, like Jesus, like, wow, and in the future, you're waiting for me. Oh my God, I can't wait till you come. But in the present, fuck, hated. You know what I mean? Hated and reviled. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I think that's kind of the main, uh, information, that I want to get across. You follow the acorn in the tree is really, you gotta really think, where does the separation happen when it sort of doesn't, That's the aspect we're getting to, back to that the veil of separation is removed. Knowledge definitely helps, but the only way to, karma is our action. You see, against the underlying common law of Dharma, right? There is good and bad here. To explain our nature to us so we can leave. There's a reason why you get harm done to you too if you cause harm to others, because that's not your nature. Your true nature is not that, right? It's a loving God. You're made of bliss, so you couldn't even conceive of the nature of separation, disharmony, disease, like bad. Those things are not in God's nature. This is not God's nature. To remind God of, by having this experience when it leaves the cage, oh, that's what I am. You see, but it's not. Is this an aspect of God? Yes, and that this bubble is in the ocean. It does exist as a necessary thing for individualized consciousness to go through to get back to, that sleeping state of God combination. That's Christ's consciousness when they combine together at the end of this game at the right moment. Uh, or during the game for a few, or maybe one. I don't know. Okay, I think I got that out. If I hope I got that out. Ali, Larry, I was driving and couldn't comment. No, cool. I want to say I'm beyond excited to meet with Gonsu. Right? You, that's all I. Yeah, once you do it, it's like, why am I here again? Because I already did it. Why? Get me out of here. Agreed. And get to his work for humanity, baptism, deliverance, and everything else needed to walk the right path. Yes, there is a spiritual hierarchy. Why? Because God's trying to tell us, oh, that's the way I want you to be like that. You know what I mean? And then you're like, you want to be like that? Well, let me see if I can be like that, like me. And then you work on that, and God helps you. And then you're like, okay, see, now that's a spiritual hierarchy. You're like, what? And then you see that as real and stuff. So maybe one day you can enter it. You see what I'm saying? And that's how you leave. You perform your service and reconnect with your true nature, and that's how one completes their passage through here. So yeah, and that's why my guru was touched by Mayor Baba's foot on his head. So that's the way avatar consciousness is. Oh well, that's actually, oh no, that's actually how consciousness is passed from, to the perfect masters. You know what I mean? From the avatar, and the avatar goes back to sleep, like, and then comes in and plays the game like the rest of humans. Wakes up, and then tells everybody everything. Like, he was like, gives the power over to the perfect chosen. Mayor Bob always looked for a little boy, and that's what happened to my guru when he was a little boy. Touched him on his head, and then he became, the one with, as Bear Baba calls, like the one with the key, the perfect master with the key, you know, the holding place for the avatar, you know, one with the key to reality. Uh, and they are here for every cycle. The because Bear Baba is the beginning, well, Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega, but you know, Bear Baba is infinity. You're not broken it to duality. Bear Baba is just infinity. You see, I met with them. That's all they said to me was, Bear Baba said to me, "I'm infinity." Jesus said, "I am infinity times infinity," and I absolutely experienced the difference. It was like Bear Baba, uh, you know, I mean, I went unconscious immediately in his presence, and and was ripped over to the other side, and but then for Jesus come and put his heart and took mine out after mine was gone and put his in mine. Like, that's a whole. I can't even. It's like infinity times infinity. It's like you die and go unconscious, say you do it a second time while you're dead already out of the body forever. Thank God, I'm at God's feet. Yay, I made it. And then you have to do it a second time there. In other words, infinity times infinity, but a second time you have to lose everything. And that's going into that universal mind, that God consciousness, like, no, I don't want you just to be with me. You're going to not experience yourself as separate from me, period. So, anyway, that was, and somehow, and I'm nearing the 7 years, takes 7 years. Big Mama smashed his forehead against a concrete wall or a stone for 7 years, for hours a day, for the first 7 years, except for the first 9 months when he got Christ consciousness. He laid in bed for 9 months and did nothing, didn't eat, didn't drink, and then he smashed his head against a rock for the next 7 years, what he had happened to him. So it takes like 7 years to sort of, because you try to experience, because honestly, the worst part of it for me is, do I have to come back here? You know what I'm saying? Because you're not separate from Jesus. He's coming back. You know what I mean? My brother's coming back here. At the end, it's like, wait a minute, do I have to be here the whole time again? It's like, and it's takes so many hundreds of times for me to work out that no, Jesus is this. I met with him at one time. Yeah, has his own individualized consciousness. So does Bear Baba. You know what I'm saying? The avatar isn't, you know, is one set in to display how to beat the game, but the avatar isn't always like Jesus is a separate entity, say he's coming on 9/11, 2033. That's not me, you know? So it's kind of very difficult at the highest aspects, even of your experience, to experience where you are in this. It's not easy. It's not, because, wow, that's, no, I'm not Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, you experience exactly what he feels, is like all of that, but you're like, oh, that's not, you know what I mean? You could understand their life and how it actually, what it really meant and what they were doing with what they were doing. You know it all. But, and so it's like, how can I know what they know, but I'm not them? You know what I mean? Like, but it's true. At the same time, it's both true. And that gives the date. So you're experiencing all the time this dual nature of reality. Oh, because they're not separate from God anymore. They're over that side where they're with God. Period. They're never going to be separate. That was, they had the experience. They're not going to re-experience it. When infinity comes into this reality, they're not going to be separate from God. They could be here, and it's like that 1,000 years is really not going to be like this. Could be not like this at all. Short time till that happens, but in the end, that's our goal, to experience. Each one will experience that at some point. It's a process we all have to go through, and someone has to come in here, you know, to all the other individualized consciousnesses, and explain to them where it takes them ultimately, or else they wouldn't, uh, would be, oh, yeah, it's like stem cells, right? They're not anything until they get harmonized to something else, and then they become that. You see what I'm saying? We be all shadow. Like, if you think about it, if God's coming in here, right? It'd be all shadow if there was no light to be, you'd be like, oh man, it's dark everywhere, And you're like, wait, there's a little bit of light over there. What's going on in that dude? You know what I mean? Like, you have to, you know, like Bear Mama say, you don't understand anything until you turn and look at God. And then at that point you can begin going to him. Otherwise you're just wandering around in the dark. You see, once people find me, they're like, oh well, I'm not him. Maybe I won't do exactly what he's doing. How does this apply to my life? What are the principles at play in our reality? You see what I'm saying? This is how we overcome it, but how does this play out for me overcoming this, and so on? Your individualized consciousness must apply these truths to your situation and ask questions. If you're like, oh, he might know the answers, I'm here to answer questions and also, put on display, this is how you can live. And your karma doesn't get back to you and you hit the other side, you're like, back in the dough, baby. No, this is how you come out even. It's like, no, I'm going with this guy. I'm going with God, not coming back. You see, there has to be someone to not be lying ultimately and do that. And I got my daughter is so great. She's very helpful. She got a little but my stepdaughter. She's the best. And she has the most wonderful little grandson, dude. And I miss him. He's so wonderful. You're not like this. Going to see him at some point. But she is also great at something else, at making like video reels, putting videos together in something to look at. And she's going to be putting on something out every Monday with me and sort of my life and not just spiritual stuff, but anyway. So look to that. It's going to be new and happening. So she already made the first one. I saw it a little bit before I jumped on here. It's very good. She's very talented. So look for that. Okay. Cain and Abel was the topic, and I really wanted to, bring it from those pieces of paper in a book to this absolutely applies to you as an individual, and no one gets out of this. Don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like, if you think you can sidestep a step, do off the cliff you go, restart back in the beginning. No, no, no. You got to grind it up those steps. Sometimes you get a plateau, and sometimes God is like, I'll help you, I'll give you a ride, and so on. But whatever it is, see, God is evening. You can't remember your past lifetimes. You can't. And that's a good thing, because you'd be one of them if you could. So everything is happening to you. It's like God's like, are you sure you want to come home? You're like, I don't get me out of here. Then God's like, well, okay, I got to even up your stuff from because 100 lifetimes ago you were da da da. You know what I mean? Like that score has to get even. So Bear Baba says it like this: the biggest sinners become the biggest saints. Why? Because you've had it. You're like, well, first of all, let me see if your script is true. Money matters, beautiful women, beautiful guy, all that stuff matters. So you're like, oh, it does? Let me try it. Well, it doesn't. But you were willing to find out, and it's empty here. You're like, well, what matters? God matters. And so you have to go the empty path, right? Biggest sinner. You have to say, oh, this is all empty and BS. What? Why did you say this? And you're still saying it's great. You're still rapping about it's like, what? That's stupid. And so you get to that aspect and you're like, done. You know what I mean? Done. Then you move along. Okay. So anyway, thought I'd go into Cain and Abel and bring it into our everyday, daily aspect, and kind of tell you how am experiencing this situation, why, where it comes in, where I am. Hopefully, what does that help do? Hopefully, helps adjust you to where you are. Their mama said, for example, he said, you can't go on to the next life until you what? Understand that you are what you're doing now. You have to live this life. You can't live a past life. Though they're all living past lives, right? And this life. Nope. So that means you have to have your memory wiped. You have to. You can't win. Now, I'm gonna go into this. I'm gonna go into this briefly. I haven't had this for a fact, but and I won't use names or nothing like that. But it come to me. It seems. Oh man, that's an important text. Oh no. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Move along a little logistical logjam. Uh, oh my goodness, must have been important because I forgot my thought. So that's perfect. Thank you. Try to get that video up I was just talking about onto the channel. Okay. I don't know. I was talking about something coming up. Ah, I'm sorry. The help that I have, I respond immediately because it's got to keep flowing, keep the river moving. Okay, I don't know. I feel like I could maybe over talk this. I mean, it's this is the only thing that sort of matters in our existence, really. This sort of linchpin to what's happening and how it, the aspects of it. But it's also something meant to be experienced. In other words, it can't not be experienced. The knowledge you have keeps your structure together. So, as you're having these different experiences, you come back in knowing you don't want to repeat it. Get me through it. Get me through it done. So, and there is a spiritual hierarchy, and so you have to go through it. What I was going to talk about. It seems like, from experience, since someone lost their home recently in a foreclosure that had not signed the trust, that is not a hack that yet it be that God wants to have an existence. You have to sign the trust. You have to be an adult about this thing. You have to go through all these steps. You have to do it all. As apparently I wanted to, how could I not, want to free my brothers and sisters from every aspect of turmoil and harm that they experience. That is my nature. You see, I don't want people to experience this difficult reality, but it's only fair that they do because I had to, and so did everyone before me. You see, so although I want to free all the homeless and put them on in homes under God's name, God strikes it down because it's not fair. Have to come through the trust. You have to sign the trust. You have to overcome the God we trust individually, your own self. You see it go through every level of difficulty that the people here at Liberty Aid Academy, the people that have already done this, where would it be fair to them? That seems to be the nature of this reality and what I was testing, which means a lot less up to me and a lot more up to others. Am I right? Keep saying no to me. And this is what I've experienced kind of multiple times now. And why they, before I forgave the devil, man, the fairies and the people that jump circle had really kind of, most of them understandably had no real zest for me because as one of them or a couple of them said to me, "You're the one holding us up." I am, but it's not really me. God set a standard and I met it. That's not me holding you up. That's you holding you up. Do you see what I'm saying? That's not me holding you up. That's I was given this spot in the spiritual hierarchy, not because to hold you down, although it does, but because God set the standard. I met it. I did it, my actions met it. Doesn't mean I'm the problem. God is the problem. You see? Don't give me that problem. Give it to God. You see, because it's God's fault. God created this game. God did it, not me. My job is same as your job. You got to get up there, which you're working on doing. Good for you. And almost no one achieves what I've done. Maybe actually no one does, except for one. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe happens Judgment Day for basically most everyone. Death. Well, you're going to make it to Judgment Day if you follow His two commandments. You know, you're following the truth. You're going to make it to Judgment Day, so you don't die. So that's your moment. You see, your vessel don't crack. You made it. So I did it too in this. Here's the body, whatever. But ultimately, you see, what is heaven or hell for people that think they're this, right? This body. No, man, this is the cage, right? Necessary cage to get to this aspect, but a cage. Okay. I'm gonna quit now. Thanks for tuning in. If you got questions, put them in the question and answer thing. I'm sorry, in the leave me a note in the comments. In the comments. Okay. Happy Sunday. God bless you all in the name of Jesus Christ.